Welcome back to the Money Making Mamas show. My name is Nancy Wallace-Laabs,
And I'm Kelcie Leka.
and we're very glad that you tuned in and for a listen and watch today because we got some good stuff to be talking about. Kelcie, I was looking at our posting calendar and I was like, oh my goodness. We started doing our podcast back in 2024 or 2025. Money Making Mamas, we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary.
That's exciting.
So exciting. So much to talk about. So much ground.
It's funny that you just brought that up because in my mind, I literally had a memory of us sitting on the couch at the lake house and coming up with names.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and I think we can thank your husband for the actual final
Money Making Mamas.
And then when we started the podcast January of 2025, and we already are over 1,000 downloads, and we're on season 2. Yay! I think this is like episode number 35, 4, somewhere around there. So yay for us and what we've learned along the way. But before we get into all of that about our journey
Let's
over
do a
the
little
last
catch up.
well, I want to talk about something that you and I did recently.
Yeah.
Kelcie and I signed us up. I didn't ask Kelcie ahead of time. So, okay, that's a mom moment. I just thought, oh, this will be fun.
Can I set the stage from my point of view really
Yes.
quick?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you text me and you're literally like, what are you doing April 15th? And my daughter's birthday is April 16th. So I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to commit to anything right now. And you literally were like, well, I signed you up for a fashion show. Like, and I was like, wait, what? And so then, like, I call you and I'm like, what is this? And you're like, yeah, I signed you up for a fashion show. And if you listened a couple weeks back, you know that both of us were very into America's Next Top Model. Love that. And anyways, and so she was like, oh, it's your debut. And I was like, what? And then so now as we're like talking about it more and more, then come to find out she's doing it as well. I just kept finding out little bits and pieces. And let's just say I was resistant.
She was very and not happy. And she gave me the cold shoulder like the 4 weeks up to it, just griping and gritching, blah, blah, blah. It was for a fundraiser. So,
which like, whatever. It was more the fact that just didn't ask.
I didn't ask. And she kept saying that. And even on the day of the event, we get there and she goes, Mom, you said that it was going to be over at 1. It's going till 2. And I was like, okay, just get over it. And also I gave you an opportunity to back out. I said, okay, if you don't really want to do it.
Yeah, but also too, yeah, guilt trip.
Anyway, so fast forward, Kelcie got to model a very cute outfit from the what's it called?
White House Black Market.
Yes, and I got to model something from and so
and everyone there was really nice.
It was beautiful.
It was a very nice event. Like,
yeah,
it was very
a fundraiser. It was, So anyway, I then because they had raffles, they had a silent auction and they had a raffle. So I bought. It was like I don't know. I spent $50 on raffle tickets, and we got 12 raffle tickets.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to keep pulling out my glasses to, read the numbers. So after, we were sitting there and, fashion show, we've already walked the runway. And so I was like, Kelcie, here's the tickets or whatever. So they were giving away some nice prizes. And one of the prizes was a 65-inch Samsung Wi-Fi flat screen TV. Okay. So they raffle away some cakes. They raffle away like a steak dinner.
Well, an iPad, because that's what I wanted.
You wanted the iPad. That's right. So we put half the tickets in the iPad box and half the tickets in the TV.
Just for fun.
Just for fun. And they had dinners. And so anyway, they ended up raffling off the 3 cakes. Then they did the iPad. Then they had a fancy steak dinner. Like it was like $500. So the next thing they're raffling off is the TV. So we're sitting at the table and, I'm taking a drink of coffee or something. And, they read off the numbers and all of a sudden Kelsie's like, and we won that TV. It was the last ticket in the group of 10 that we had. She was bouncing out of her seat. She's like, so I got a mom get you back moment. So she said, because remember, I bought the ticket.
Yeah.
So she's offering me like $25. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. Well, fortunately for her, I didn't have a need for a TV. None of our lake houses needed TVs or whatnot. So I said, okay, you can have the TV. And it was hilarious because her husband ended up hanging it up almost that same day. But now every time she looks at that TV, she's like, Mom, I'm glad you signed me up for that.
I know. And I had texted Zach and I was like, babe, ... I just want a TV. And he had texted me back and he was like, I'm actually like laughing out loud. Like you out of all people at that
Because
event.
you were the
What?
last one that wanted to be there. So I just thought that was, I don't know what you call that, but that was pretty
I
hilarious.
will say, it's like one of those moments of like, even if you don't want to do something, you never know the outcome and like just putting yourself out there. So take that away with if you want.
Yeah, yeah.
So that
So
was my win of yes. So thank you very much, mom.
you're welcome. So that was in a moment when I was the mom. And then,
Yes.
so now let's talk about how we had to pivot this year. So we're
Yeah.
coming up on our 2 years. We started all of this because of your story. So remind everybody, briefly what your story was about.
Yeah, basically, I have 2 little babies. I mean, 4 and 3 now, but at the time, I had, like, a 1 and 6-month-old, or maybe I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, I was working a corporate job, manager for a sales team, and ultimately, after maternity leave, I wanted to be with my babies, but we had also built our life off of 2 incomes, and so ultimately started investing in real estate, and that was able to replace my income plus some, and now start to build for their futures and our future, and I feel like I have more time with them
Yes.
now.
And so Kelsey came to me and said, well, mom, we should teach other moms how to do
Mhm.
this. And I was like, okay. So when we first launched Money Making Mamas, our target audience, our avatar, if you will, were Kelsey's age
Mhm.
group, young moms with
In
young
my situation
in
of,
her
like, wanting to be
situation,
with their
wa-
kids.
but not
Yeah.
necessarily from the corporate world either.
Yes. Yeah, it was just strictly, like,
Young moms,
moms, like, stay-at-home moms,
stay at home
working
moms.
moms, whatever.
So, but this is what we found out.
Mm.
That's a hard group to sell to.
Well, and also too, I think the more we talked about it is, like, ultimately, like I mean, we've seen it. We've had to pivot multiple times within, like, ourselves, but, like, kids are a lot, and to be at home with them a lot and have your own business is a lot, and so, ultimately, like, I think some moms out there just solely wanna focus on their kids, which is so good and great, and, like, their husbands are able to support them and whatnot, and so I think that was just a hard group because they already have their minds in a different mindset.
Yes, and I was gonna say, you are not I'm gonna brag on you a bit because
Yeah.
you are not like
Mhm.
most young moms
Mhm.
because you are very I mean, it wasn't like you were just working at a corporate sales job. You were
Yeah.
the inside sales manager of a Fortune 500 company. You managed 20 salespeople, very stressful job. You did, you have
For
had a
the government.
history, yeah,
Mhm.
and had the entire government. I mean, the entire country. So you have always been a hard worker, great work ethic, been promoted fairly fast in any position that you've had. So I don't think you're a lot you are not like a lot of young moms. I think that you're
Young
kind of more
stay-at-home moms.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
more of the exception to the rule. So when we first started talking about money making mamas, because I said, oh, really, we want to do this business together. And you and I had to talk about how that was even going to work
Yeah.
because I'm kind of like very driven and very, maybe sometimes too tunnel.
Well, and I think our time looks a lot different too. Like, as much as, like, I want something for myself and, like, I think that's also part of it too. Like, I want something for myself. Like, I don't want my kids just to be, like, my sole like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm just their mom. Like,
Exactly.
I want something for myself too, so I think that's also the driving factor, and I'm not saying anything, like, wrong or against, like, the moms that
No.
want to do that, but I also recognize too that my kids are gonna grow up at some point, and, like, I'm trying to protect myself of, like, I don't want to be, like, not know what to do with myself because they're gone all of a
Well, and
sudden.
also I think that you've seen from me and your dad from investing in real estate that, you know, I don't work
Yeah.
80 hours a week. I
Well,
don't
you haven't worked for, like
and I haven't worked for
for a
anybody.
hot minute,
Yeah.
majority of my growing up.
Yeah. So I've had my own freedom.
Mhm.
I'm in control of my own destiny, so to speak. So I think you saw that too.
Mm.
And then one of the things that I commend you on is because we're getting ready to take this trip and you're so organized, right? And I said to you, thank your mom for that because I feel like that's one of my
Mhm.
strong suits or strong skills is I'm very, very organized. So so when we started looking at, oh my gosh, we are bumping our heads against the wall trying to get these moms to sign up
Yeah.
and I think that they want to, but it's a couple things. One, they're not organized.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a tough love kind of thing. Like if you really want something, you have to put in the time. You
Yeah.
can't just and so then that kind of
Well, and I don't even wanna say not organized, more so because I think they're organized for, like because again, one of the reasons that we were like, "Oh, moms is a good group," because ultimately, like, I do think moms are the managers of the house,
yes.
and so but I think it's just, again, how do you it takes a very specific niche. Like, you're talking to the moms, but then you're talking to a very specific niche of, like, moms who have to delegate their time with their kids and delegate their time as entrepreneurs, and that was hard.
Yes. So what we ended up finding out was most of the women that came to us were more like they were already working and managing their family,
Yes.
right? So they were trying to find a way, they were still balancing it, but they were looking to transition out of their
Mhm.
full-time jobs. And that's
Yes.
really what then we ended up pivoting to. Sometimes the moms are younger, sometimes they're older, sometimes the kids have already left the
Mhm.
nest, or even women who have always wanted to invest in real estate, they just didn't have a clear path.
Right.
And so we have so focused, and we're going to be talking about that in our next show about, the tech stack that we've been through and the growth that we've seen over this last year. But yeah, and I think one thing I would like to commend both of us for, because, I see it, and I know people like this too. We could have continually just tried to market to that group.
Yeah.
Now, and we did hire a mentor that, told us that that was like the hardest group to
Yes.
sell to.
Yeah.
And so we kind of said, okay, we're not getting anywhere. We're
Yeah.
putting a lot of energy and effort into our social media and trying to
Yeah.
hit the right nugget. And we would have videos that would, okay, they didn't go viral, but they'd have tens of thousands of views.
But, like, nothing goes with
Nothing
it.
happened
Yeah.
where we've had videos that have had 10 views and we've gotten, we've made money.
Yeah.
So
And I will say, like, I have to also condemn, or not condemn, sorry, give props to you because
commend is the
commend,
word.
thank you, condemn, commend, same thing.
You condemned me for inviting you to the fashion
Yeah,
show,
it's still in my back of my
but you
mind.
wanted
Apparently,
TV.
I need to go watch TV because I do feel like, I think that, like, part of the reason that I struggle sometimes with, like, the entrepreneurial side and, like, I've had these ideas in the past, but it's always, like, been very intimidating, and, like, yeah, you just, like, I mean, you're like a bull, and you just go for it and, like, in a good way, and not, not condemning, commending. But anyways, and I do think that a lot of advice like that small businesses here is like, just push through, you'll keep going. Like, you're not gonna make $1 in the first 2 years, but you will in 5 years. And like, that's so deflating. And I do feel like you recognize when something's not working and like you help us pivot instead of me where I'm like, no, granted, I do know we've had some conversations of like, okay, I think we need to stick with this one thing, like this one method for a couple of weeks or a month or something like that, but you look at the overall picture of like, "Okay, this isn't doing it for us. We need to, like, pivot a little bit," which I appreciate as a
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah. And I think too, the bottom line is that we just did a deal, you
Mhm.
wholesaled it, I'm like, okay, we need to get back to basics,
Yes.
right? We need to do what we know best.
Yeah.
And what we know best is that you do not have to have an entrepreneurial spirit to be a
Yeah.
real estate investor. It does not have to, you could work a full-time job or not and
Yeah.
still be an investor. So that's why I think when we pivoted to our guide, if you have 60 minutes in a week, you can be a real estate investor.
Yes.
So it'll be in the link below, but yeah, we talk about now about tools and resources and that we're the guide to give people, because you and I've had the conversation about time,
Yeah.
because I have more time than you. So when we do talk about our tech stack and the changes that we've made, I really had to say, okay, I can't really demand this much time of you right
Mhm.
now, but you're still learning so that, yeah, I want you to be there for the grandbabies, but I also want to kind of pull you along so that when the grandbabies, they're in school full time, they're doing this, then
Yeah.
your skills are not getting stale, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I think also too, like, to go back to our guide, because yeah, it'll be linked below. It's free. It's a great resource, and I think one big thing is, like, when it comes to real estate investing, like, yes, you can do it on your own. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, like, you can do anything on your own. Having, like, the resources and a partner and just someone to talk through and someone to ask a question is so beneficial because, like, for me, I know in the past I've mentioned doing real estate investing. I've always been on the sidelines, like, or in the garage painting, helping you guys out as a kid. But Zach, he's always wanted to do real estate investing, like, even prior to us knowing, but he always was like, I had no idea where to start, like, even by myself. And now that, like, obviously we've been married and like you're a resource and you and Brian have like helped us walk us through, we've partnered, things like that. We talk about it all the time of just how easy it is to do with someone.
I'm
And, like, not even, like, it doesn't mean that you have to find a partner to, like, income-wise, like, "Oh, you go 50-50," and nothing like that, but more so just to like, "Hey, like, this is what you do in this situation," or "This is what I would do," or maybe "This house, like, look at it from this angle, like, what do you wanna do with it?" So
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna
mhm.
give a little story about a strategy call I had earlier today. The company that we do the webinars for every month, they use me as a resource. So they had somebody call me from Virginia. And I don't know anything about Virginia law or anything like that. But what I do know is real estate investing and, working with distressed sellers. So she was an investor slash realtor, and she had done some marketing based on a couple of our webinars that we talked about. And the seller called her. Well, the first thing she said is, "Yeah, I've had some calls, Nancy, and they weren't very nice." I was like, "Comes with the territory."
Yeah, yeah. Gotta have a
But
little tough skin to
yeah,
go
but
into
then
real
she
estate
said she had a
investing.
lady who the husband had passed away. She was getting into what the lady owed, and I said, "Well, did she give you her mortgage statement?" And she said, "No." And she goes, "No, I just looked it up online." I said, "Well, you can't really that doesn't give you anything."
Right.
And so, because she was really wanting to know, how can this be a deal? And I said, "Well, it can't be. It's too early." And I said, "When you work with distressed people," I said, "you need to lead with empathy,
Yeah.
not your wallet." So
Right.
you have not asked her. I said, I commend you
Mm,
for, because the lady said, "Can you call me back in 30 days?" And I said,
yeah.
"Well, what you need to do is respect her wishes." Because she was like, "Should I call her?" I was like, "No, do not call her again." I said, "She asked you to call in 30 days, but what you need to do is then find out what her end goal is. I mean,
Yeah.
she wants to sell the house. How much money does she want to make? And then you need to verify the information. Don't just rely on looking it up
Mhm.
online. You need to have a conversation with
Mhm.
her. I told her some of the things that she could start talking to her about, whether when was the last time your house was updated? And the reason I asked that question is because I wanna know, is this a house that needs work, or,
Yeah.
and it's all about, like, just being empathetic.
And, don't be and not being afraid to ask questions, because yes, there are people out there that, like, will slam the door in your face, but then there's other people that are happy to answer those questions as well, because ultimately, at the end of the day, they need help too. So, I think just asking questions, but asking the right questions.
Yes. And I had a call the other night. I was so happy. My phone rings and I see, "Oh, Rhonda, why is she calling me?" And this was right at the start of COVID when I
Mhm.
helped this lady. So she was in a distressed situation. We had sent her one of our marketing pieces, and she called, and we ended up purchasing the house,
Mhm.
renovating it, flipping it. It was one of the last houses I did. So that had to have been, so what, COVID is 2025. So at least three
It's
years ago,
2026.
2026. So 3 or 4 years ago, right? She called me up the other night and said, "Hey, Nancy, I just want to know, do you still buy houses? I have a friend that's in
Mm,
in a bad situation." I said,
yeah,
"Yes, I do." And so she gave me her friend's information, and I
yeah,
reached out to her. So because of the way I handled her. So, a lot of times
yep,
in real estate investing, it's about, just being a real person, being transparent.
yeah, and I do know, we talk about the women that are and ultimately, the people that are working in sales, you have no idea how much foundation and bones and grit you have to come into real estate investing. My husband, I was in sales, but I went to the manager side. My husband is field sales. He's just a sociable person in general, so he's just got, like, so many aspects about him that I might be biased, but just make him great overall. But his sales, when we started really coming in, and I was like, "Hey, I'm a little nervous to call this seller. Can you call them?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll jump on the phone." Like, he is so adamant about it, and then, like, that also helped give me confidence too because, again, all those sales foundation. Because he was like, "You also were in sales, Kelsey, like, you can do this too," and so, like, giving me that confidence boost, but all this to say, if you're in sales, you already have so much because it's all about relationship building.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember, but it seems to me I've either done a YouTube or we've done something, a show on the skills you need.
Yeah.
And and it's not like it's rocket
No.
science. Just to recap about our journey of the 2 years where we pivoted because we said, "Okay, young moms, we love you."
It's nothing against because 'cause we're talking and I don't want it to, like, seem like we're bagging on young
Mhm.
moms, that's not the case at all, it's just some moms are this is what they wanna do, and that's totally fine.
Yes. So, it's just kind of a stage of life because I
Mhm.
didn't start till I was older. I wish I would, I wish I would have known what I know now. But
Yeah,
again, I think it takes a certain drive and certain ambition,
yeah,
and you were talking about, me pushing forward or whatever. And I think it's more, about calculated risk. To get ahead, you usually have to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable,
yeah,
get out of your comfort zone. And I think that, just over the years now, I almost I'm not saying I'm not an adrenaline junkie because look it up. I-360 in Brighton that I
Oh
was
my
talking
god.
about yesterday. I'm not going to talk more about it, but I would not ride that thing. I'm not an adrenaline
But you
junkie
know
like
what's
the
funny? Me and Zach were just talking about, or talking this, I don't know, I was having this conversation, I was like, "Yeah, my mom skydived it for her, like, birthday," and they're like, "She did?" No, they were like, "I would never do this," and I was talking to, like, a 25-year-old. So you kinda are a little bit of a, even though I think if you think about it too much, because I know your thing with roller coasters, so it's like,
that's the
she
I
won't
what
ride a steel roller coaster, but she'll jump out of a plane.
Well, as I got older, the thing about the roller coasters, I like the old-fashioned roller
But I
coasters where
still
you're
think
in,
about a
but now
section of it, like,
one bolt. Yeah, one bolt is holding that thing together. So I can't, I mean, just my
I really don't
palms
think
are
that.
sweating thinking about riding a roller
Okay,
coaster.
wait, can we just talk about this really quick? Because
Okay.
this was a conversation that came up, and I do have to say, because growing up, as a normal kid, like, I always wanted to do the theme parks, and we were talking about, we had driven past, we were with our friends in the car, and we had driven past Arlington, which is where Six Flags was, and there's Titan, and you can see that, and I was talking about it with Zach, I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure last time I rode a roller, or not even a roller coaster, I rode the State Fair Ferris wheel, and I was sweating about a quarter up, and I was like, "I don't know if I could actually handle Titan right now."
I know, I'm just
My
my
hands sweat.
so I think that
'Cause
comes
I
when
think last time me and Zach rode it together, both of us kinda, like, looked at this, because I mean, for those who don't know, Titan's, like, one of the tallest roller coasters of Six Flags,
yeah.
and, like, I remember, like, looking off to the side, and we weren't even, like, a quarter of the way up.
I don't there's that one roller coaster, well, there's one in Vegas that is from a casino, and it
On
goes
the
out.
very top.
Yeah, couldn't do that one.
Okay, really quick, so our friend was telling me, because he wrote it, and I was like, "Dang, you're ballsy." But he was telling me that there was an incident where it went off the rails and ran into the restaurant. I was like, "Yeah, no,
I didn't see that in the news.
I will never be riding
Yeah,
that."
so anyway, where was I going with all of that?
Adrenaline junkie.
Calculated risk. So I don't believe in jumping off the cliff or riding something that I think might break from one bolt or something like that. So I feel pretty safe buying a real estate
Yeah.
house. And with
Oh
that,
my
Kelsey, I
gosh.
don't know. We should just leave everybody on that high.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything else other than, I chopped my hair. Feel
Yeah, looks
very lighter
good.
about
Even though
that.
this is a podcast and no one can see it.
The ones watching on our YouTube
Oh,
channel,
there.
thank you. They can
Yeah,
see it. But
that's good.
yes, yeah, we're always here if you have questions. As always, like, subscribe,
Share.
follow, share.
Or
Talking
leave a
about,
comment.
talking about calculated risks, really quick, one of the things that, like, pivoted and all that was this podcast.
Oh, yeah, we
Because
did. 'Cause
if you've been listening to since the beginning, good job, yay for you. And watching alone, because that's like, good job, yay for you. You should get extra kudos. I did not want to do this podcast at all, and now look at us. We have over 1,000
I
downloads,
know.
so
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah, we're almost like 1,100. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and here we are, we're just sitting and just talking and
Jabbing and jabbering on.
well, thanks so much. Thanks everybody for watching and we'll see you next time.
Talk later.
All right, love you.
Love you too.